was elbow deep in oil stains when the knock came. Sharp, authoritative. The kind of knock that carries bad news before words are spoken. I wiped my hands, opened the door. A uniformed officer stood there, face carved in pity. "Sir," he said, "your wife, she was in a fatal car accident an hour ago." For a moment, the world stopped. Not from grief, but confusion, because I knew exactly where she was. "No," I said calmly. "You're mistaken. She's upstairs asleep." The officer's expression fractured. Confusion, suspicion. "Sir," he said slowly, hand inching toward his holster, "may I see her?" I led him up the stairs. The house creaked beneath our steps, every sound heavy with dread. We reached the bedroom. She lay there, the woman I married, still as stone under the covers. The officer's hand snapped to his weapon. "Step away from her," he ordered. His voice was cold, trembling. "That isn't your wife." There was a time when I believed in her. We met young, when the world still felt wide and forgiving. She had a laugh that caught me off guard, a touch that promised safety. We built everything together: savings, a home, rituals that stitched us into a unit. I thought loyalty was a given, that love was armor against betrayal. But cracks formed quietly. At first, I dismissed the late nights, the sudden silences when I entered a room. The phone tilted just out of my sight. I told myself trust mattered more than suspicion. I wanted to believe. And then one night, I didn't just hear her whispering into the dark. I heard his name. His name was Marcus, a coworker. I remember standing in the hallway, watching her reflection in the black glass of the window. Phone to her ear, her voice softer than she ever used with me. My chest burned, but my face stayed still. The truth unraveled quickly after that. Receipts, hotel bookings, a second phone I found tucked inside her gym bag. And the worst part wasn't that she betrayed me. It was how easily she smiled at me the next morning. How she kissed my cheek as if nothing had been broken. That was the moment I changed. I didn't rage. I didn't confront. I studied. Every lie she told me, I marked. Every call she made, I logged. I learned his schedule, his weaknesses. I discovered the account where she was siphoning money, preparing for her escape. Piece by piece, I built my case, quietly transferring assets from joint to private accounts, creating trails that would lead not to me, but to them. I set traps in silence, the way a hunter waits for prey to step into the snare. Step 1 was financial. I left their secret account intact, but fed it carefully with money tied to fraudulent transactions, enough to raise suspicion in the right circles. Step 2 was surveillance. I planted a camera in her car, a tracker in her phone. I captured nights, hours, movements, a catalogue of betrayal, stored and encrypted. Step 3 was patience. I let them believe they were safe. Lovers often confuse secrecy with intelligence. Then the day came, the accident. It wasn't her car that went off the road. It was his. Head-on collision. No survivors. His blood alcohol level was high. His reputation ruined in death. Except the toxicology report didn't quite add up. A small substitution in his drink earlier that night made sure of it. But here's the twist. She was supposed to be with him. She told me she was working late, but a migraine had kept her in bed. That coincidence spared her for the moment. Which brings me back to the officer. His radio buzzed. Unit 7. Confirm. Victim identified as Marcus Moore. Passenger deceased female. Matching description of static. Cut off. The officer's eyes darted from her to me. He saw her chest barely rising. Alive, but wrong, too pale, too still. Because she wasn't sleeping. She hadn't been for an hour. She wasn't in the accident, but she was in it all the same. When Marcus's brakes failed, she was already lying here, motionless, with the trace of a pill cocktail easing her into silence. I watched realization flicker across the officer's face. He thought I had killed her. He thought this was the end of the story. But the truth was sharper. Investigations followed, of course. Papers, interviews, whispers. They circled me like wolves trying to sniff out blood, but I had prepared. Her search history was littered with despair. Her journals, pages I had written in her familiar scrawl. told the story of a woman torn between guilt and hopelessness, a woman who saw no way out. The cameras showed nothing unusual. The pills prescribed with records of her refill. Requests I had placed under her name, weeks in advance. And Marcus, his drinking problem was well documented, whispered among colleagues. A man spiraling long before the crash. By the time the dust settled, the narrative was neat, tragic, and unassailable. They called it a double tragedy. Star-crossed lovers meeting a bitter end. The town mourned, the papers wept. And me. I stood graveside, stoic, the image of a devastated husband. People clasped my shoulder, whispered condolences. None of them saw the calm beneath my grief because my revenge was complete. She had betrayed me in the shadows, and I answered in daylight. They thought she died of heartbreak, that she couldn't live without him. But the truth, the real satisfying truth, was that she couldn't live without my forgiveness. And I had denied her that the way she denied me loyalty. Now the house is quiet. Her laughter is gone, but so is the poison behind it. And every time I walk past the garage, I remember that knock at the door, the officer's words, the look in his eyes. They thought it was the end of a love story. It was the conclusion of my revenge. Justice doesn't always come with handcuffs or trials. Sometimes it comes in silence, when the betrayer's final breath is the sound of your victory.